This is Bumper to Bumper, the car show. Drive in anxious and cruise out confident. With the best automotive information for your vehicle. And now your hosts, Matt Allen and Dave Riccio.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio. Matt Allen is off at some training. So today I'm your KTAR car guy. Bumper to Bumper Radio is a show every Saturday from 11 to noon. We're helping you have a better overall car repair experience. A lot of people got questions about their car. They don't know where to go. They're not sure if they trust their mechanic all the way. We're here to help you with that, and you can get a hold of us at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTR. You can also text your questions to 411-923. And Matt is off, but I'm not here alone. I've got Jon Riggle, the lead diagnostician at Tri-City Transmission Auto Repair, here to help me help you with your car. Thanks for coming in, John.
Morning,
good to have you. Morning. And today on the Bumper to Bumper Roadmap, we're going to have open phones and texts, of course, and the cost of ignoring vibrations in your vehicle. And we had one in our shop. That's mostly what these shows are made up of, stuff we see every day in the shop, you know. And we had a truck that a guy just bought. He spent $20,000 on a used diesel truck, and it was a 2005, 120,000 miles on it. And it had a bad universal joint, which creates a vibration in your car. And big diesel truck, diesel's one of those trucks that someone's going to ignore a vibration because they just shake anyway, right? Yeah. And what ended up happening is he did not address the vibration, and going down the freeway, his transfer case, that's the four-wheel drive unit that hangs on the back of the transmission, literally exploded.
Yeah.
And it was all over the road, but you know, now that you got this transfer case that's missing, you still got a drive shaft that's attached to the front axle, and it's still spinning, so it's flopping around down there, and it just ripped the entire wiring harness out of the vehicle because the wiring harness got caught up in this rotating drive shaft.
It got fuel lines, it got brake lines. There was no brakes in that car.
Fuel lines, brake lines. You want to talk about you don't want to ignore a vibration in your car. It should be looked at if something's different. And the other thing is these things sneak up on you subtly. I mean, he had just bought this truck, so he didn't really know the history of it.
Known,
But someone jumps in a car, the thing, gets a little worse. And I get into people's cars and I'm like, wow, man, your brakes are terrible. You hit the brakes and it's, shaking your teeth out. And they're like, oh, really? Is that bad? It is bad. So
but it creeps up on them and they don't realize it. Motor mounts, suspension wear, and brake pulsations all seem to kind of creep up on people, and they drive it, and it's that's the road or whatever, and there's actually something wrong with the car.
There's something wrong with the car, and that's the thing is it gets subtly worse. It's like a mattress. You don't know it's bad until you replace it.
Yeah,
people come in and they get their they're living with this brake pulsation. We do brakes for them, and they drive away and they're like, wow, that's nice. The same way I feel you buy a new mattress. You mentioned mount vibrations, and if your car's somewhere between 80,000 miles old and 120,000 miles old, you're in the window of time frame that an engine mount fails.
Yeah.
And so you're going to feel that, when you're a stoplight. You just got that shake going on. Or when you leave a stop, sometimes you're going to feel like I left, but then there's this other little sensation. It's actually the motor picking up.
Yeah, clunk.
And then once you get going a little bit, the motor falls back down. That's because the engine mounts are bad. And that's one that I see more cars wrecked by people just ignoring repair. I call it deferred maintenance and repair, so they have bad mounts. When you have bad mounts, this guy had a bad U-joint, it cost him a transfer case. John, when you have bad mounts, I just think of all those wiring harnesses that are getting tugged on.
Air conditioning hoses. Tears air conditioning hoses up something fierce. I've actually seen them break the aluminum mufflers right at the compressors when the mounts are bad.
Yeah, so when you're in the shop and they say, hey, your engine mounts are bad, and you go, oh, really? And it's hard for you as a consumer to know, am I being oversold or is this something I really need? And that's why we kind of give you some rules of thumb here, of a window of 80 and 120,000 miles. I've seen engine mounts fail at 40,000 miles. If you drive anything like me, I buy mounts at 40,000 miles. But for the regular drivers out there that don't drive like me, I don't know if you're going to need mounts at 40,000 miles, but between 80 and 120,000. So, John, we mentioned mount vibrations, brake vibrations. That's going to be the common one. So you've been on the highway, you're getting off in the off-ramp, you hit the brakes, and kind of a pulsation in the pedal. Mm-hmm. Do you feel it in the pedal more or in the steering wheel, would you say?
It depends. Usually you feel it. You'll either feel it in the steering wheel or you'll feel the car kind of surge back and forth as you're slowing down. The pulsation in the pedal with disc brakes is a little less common unless they're really bad. And then you can feel them kick back in the pedal, but you don't feel that so much. It's just maybe a shudder or shimmy.
Okay, so we got mount vibrations, brake vibrations, and then the real common one that everyone thinks of is tire vibrations.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty common one. It's generally, there's two different types of tire vibrations. There's a tire vibration that you're going to feel at 20 miles an hour because you got a really badly separated tire.
Yeah, tire's not round anymore.
Tire's completely lost its round. But then there's a tire vibration you're going to feel at 65 miles an hour. One thing that's it tends to be a little bit of a habit of a tire that's out of balance is maybe you feel the vibration at 65 miles an hour, but if you speed up to 70 miles an hour, it goes away.
Yeah.
That's going to be typical of a tire vibration. But don't assume that's all it is, because I was telling John before the show, we had a Ford F-350, again, diesel, this is about a decade ago, and the guy had that vibration from a bad U-joint in the drive shaft, so he took it down to Discount Tire thinking he had a tire problem. They balanced the tires. He left with the same vibration. He's going 80 miles an hour coming back from Tucson, and his transfer case blew up. And not only did the transfer case blow up, it split the transmission in half, so he was buying a transmission and a transfer case.
Whoops.
And you couldn't even rebuild them because they were busted in half.
Sure.
So there's, you can't ignore vibration in your car. So that's the drive shaft vibration. The modern front-wheel drive car has axle shafts, or we refer to them as half shafts sometimes. And if you've ever heard the term CV joint, that's some of the things that we think of. You get vibrations in those. Some cars are eaters. I used to have a Honda Element, or Honda CR-V is another vehicle that those axles go bad all the time.
Yeah.
A lot of times you'll feel those when you're accelerating hard. Mm-hmm. That's probably going to be the most common, or when you go around corners.
When you go around corners and accelerate, and usually at lower speeds, you'll get a vibration or a shudder out of it.
So mount vibrations, brake vibrations, tire vibrations, drive shaft or half shaft vibrations, and then the other vibration, you're sitting at the stoplight and the car's running and it's running a little bit rough. We say rough, that means so many things to so many different people. Yeah. But the engine's not running smooth, so you're sitting there and your little bobblehead on the dashboard is jiggling because the engine's running rough. And it may be running rough. It could be a combination. The engine's running rough, but also the mounts are old, and they're weak. So those are real common. The thing we do with the engine mount vibration is, we put it in the bay, and what we do is we'll just take a floor jack, slide it under the car, and we'll put a block of wood on it and raise it up the oil pan, and we'll pick up the engine just a little bit to take some weight off those mounts. And if it smooths right out, we know the vibration is a mount vibration. Right. So those are some of the diagnostic tools that we do. And John, you mentioned noises and vibrations. Very much the same thing. Yeah.
Noises and vibrations are the same thing at different frequencies.
Right.
Some you can hear, some you can't. You can feel it, but you can't necessarily hear it. We had that one car we chased had been somewhere and they'd done something to it and they had a vibration in it, but it was only a vibration when it was in gear at a certain RPM, and it rattled it sounded like it was coming right out of the dash, and that was the one that was missing one screw out of the air cleaner housing, and the lid on the air cleaner housing was vibrating.
Right.
And it took two people to find it.
It took us a long time, and they were actually at a transmission shop, and they came from a general repair shop. The general repair shop's like, it looks like you need a transmission, so go over to Tri-City Transmission. Yeah. And this is the funny stuff that happened. We fixed it with a screw. And it wasn't the screw that really fixed it. It was the 2 hours you and I spent in the car. I mean, John's driving. We got the hood up. I'm laying across the engine compartment with my ear down over the engine trying to figure this stinking thing out. Yeah. These are the things that we do to find these weird problems in cars. Mounting GoPros under the hoods and all kinds of weird stuff. So, in one of the things too, I tease John a little bit. There's certain noises that he hears in certain ranges, and certain noises. When I go out and drive it with a customer, I'm like, we better have Chris look at this one.
Yeah.
But one thing John's good at is he feels for noises.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, John, they're very much the same thing. And we kind of have this audible memory. When we get in a car, we go drive it. Oh, that's the heat shield above the catalytic converter. We know what that noise sounds like. Or we're driving and we're going 75 miles an hour and we get this drone in the vehicle. We say, oh, that's a U-joint. That's a driveline vibration.
Sure.
We've been doing this so long and on so many different cars, we know the typical stuff and the typical pattern of failure. Where we get the weird ones is when somebody else has been working on the car before us and they did something wrong. Yep. Some of the biggest problems are actually created by crummy auto repair. So anyway, maybe you got a vibration in your car, or maybe you've got a car stereo that doesn't work, or maybe you're wondering about finding a good body shop and who should do the work on it. You've got any question in relation to your car, John and I are here to help you out at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTR. They're starting to file in. We've got Lynn, Russ, and Matt and more open lines, 602-277-5827. You're listening to Bumper to Bumper Radio. We'll be right back.